Talking Ball State, Don Shondell and Ray McCallum talking Ball State. Nate Davis and Bonzi Wells, Schumann, Bell Tower, and Worthen. Fans all over from Muncie to Berlin. Getting Concannons, Carters, and Greeks.
All right, everyone. If you are on Twitter at all and you're a Ball State fan, you are definitely going to know exactly who our guest is. Mr. Andy Thorpe. Andy Thorpe, correct?
That's correct. That is correct. Yep.
You'll see him online all the time talking Ball State recruiting, stuff with the transfer portal. Andy, how are we doing today? How was your holidays?
Very well, very good. Doing well. Glad it's over. I got older kids now, so it's not as fun as it used to be when I had little ones, but you muscle through it like we were just talking. So yeah.
Hey, so I've called you before the Adam Schefter of Ball State. I don't know if anyone's ever called you that before, but
no, that's a first. That's a first. I appreciate.
But that's kind of Adam Schefter, Woj when he was still working, Shams, like these are the people that you look to when there's rumors going around. You don't know what's true or not. These are the names that you trust. Andy Thorpe is a name for Ball State recruiting that I trust, and I think everyone else does. How did this all start for you?
It started. Oh man. So I've been doing this since the class of 2006.
Okay.
Or 2007, one of the two. 2007. That was Nate Davis's first year, his class, whichever one that was. So I knew a gentleman who got contacted to start a page for scout.com at the time. And he's like, I don't know the first thing about all this. He'd seen a BSU fans page back in the day. I used to compile all this stuff because I'm just a dork. As far as offers and stuff like that I saw and everything before Twitter was really even a thing at that point in time. So we just kind of started to, he's like, hey, you write it, you do it. I'll kind of, be the behind the scenes guy, whatever. So we got hooked up with the coaching staff at that time. And kind of, started the scout.com. I was the Ball State Insider at that time. That was our first class, just kind of as, getting a tidbit or two of information from the coaches at that time. And then as things progressed, we moved into CBS Sports and then on to 24/7 Sports. So yeah, up until about 2 years ago when I retired, so to speak, just got tired of doing it. And then here recently with Coach U coming aboard, I was kind of reinvigorated to get back into what I did before. So that's kind of the progression of it all.
Well, you mentioned Coach U, so we can kind of go there first. What are your thoughts on the job Coach U has done so far? Obviously, getting hired pretty late into obviously the season's ends. There's not a lot of time between that and when signing day happens, when the transfer portal closes, which obviously is a new problem for everybody. But how do you think he's done so far in the short window that he's had to kind of get the recruiting going?
I think he's done a fabulous job. I mean, holding on to some of the guys from the previous class or the news class that he had signed or had committed beforehand, and then just adding to it with great, I think, really good talent. It's been a surprising turnaround so quick and so well done that it's kind of, there were some, hey, we're getting a guy from Butler or whatever, there's kind of, it wasn't like the Hollywood woohoo hire at first. But just seeing what he's done in such a short amount of time, the work he's put in, I've seen him around town, even out with recruits, like, oh my gosh, there's Coach again out here with, so-and-so at the, at the clubhouse downtown or whatever. It's just been hitting the ground running. So, and they've brought in just great talent, I think, so quickly. So it's a huge positive.
Okay. So you kind of mentioned when we first started talking, you kind of got hooked up with the coaching staffs a little bit when you first started. Yeah. So anytime we have an announcement of someone receiving an offer, someone committing, pretty much anything, you have it right away. How do you do it? How do you have that information so fast? Is it inside sources? Is it just you're just everywhere always?
Yeah, right now, not really any inside any inside sources. I haven't really met the new staff much. It's been just kind of constantly scrolling, looking around on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. Just kind of, I know what to look for, where to look for, kind of who we're grumbling from other sources, from media sources that I have that, kind of who might be ready to pop, either getting an offer or commit or whatever. So it's really just keeping your ear close to the ground and kind of hearing what's going to happen. So,
Yeah, you and Colin are both pretty much perpetually on Ball State Twitter. So
yep.
Every time I
there's
log
no
on,
better
I see
place
something.
to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an exciting stuff.
So you started in, around when Nate Davis, so in the 2005, 2006, 2007, that range.
Yep.
How has recruiting changed from then to now? And then how has that kind of changed what you do?
I think social media has made it easier.
Okay.
And changed a lot because kids are more vocal now. You get at the beginning of all this, when you found out, hey, so-and-so's got an offer and they might commit, pick up the phone, give them a call. They were like, oh my gosh, somebody from, scout.com is calling me. Oh, wow. Now it's not so exciting to them. So that's definitely changed. I think from a high school standpoint, it hasn't changed other than the fact that there's less opportunity for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, the getting an offer and committing as quick as possible thing has changed. Not sitting around waiting for that, Big Ten offer if you're a MAC level recruit to pop. That's changed. And then just the whole transfer portal, chasing around, keeping an eye out on guys that are juniors, seniors in college now, as opposed to high school or junior college kids is a little bit different. So that's been the biggest, huge difference from, 15, 20 years ago.
Do you like the transfer portal, or do you hate it for the amount of extra work it probably gives you?
I mean, from a work standpoint, it's not that big a deal for me. I mean, it's still, being on Twitter and kind of keeping an eye out and stuff like that. So that's not a huge difference. It's kind of, I don't know, it's hard to be a fan, I guess, because your roster's constantly in flux. You get a guy for a year or two and then boom, he's gone, or, it's hard, especially like a community like Muncie where, if somebody gets entrenched over the years, we've had guys that were, firmly and fully stars of the team or whatever. And then the community gets to know them and then, they have a long lasting impact. You don't get that now. You don't get the guy that sticks around for 4 or 5 years that sets records and makes it to the NFL. And you're like, oh yeah, he went to Ball State. No, it's not like, oh, he spent his first year here and now he's, went on somewhere else. And, not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just the way it is now, but It just makes it hard from a fan standpoint.
Yeah, I've kind of thrown out there before that it's like, if you have a record at Ball State, it's like you're fairly set for probably ever at this point. I mean, there'll probably be a few exceptions, but getting those people to come, and stay for 4 years now is pretty difficult. Let's talk about the current team a little bit. Colin, this is our expert on all things transfer portal. Where do you want to start with Andy with the transfer portal?
All right. I think just generally, I want to know our biggest returner, our biggest new signing, and our biggest loss. And then later we can go into some players individually that I have questions about, but that's where I'd start.
I think biggest returner has to be Kyle coming back. Just from the standpoint of having seen what I've seen now to coach you schematically, both at Butler and then obviously remembering how he killed us at NIU. He's going to be QB1 starting off, I would assume. He's going to be this offense is set for him. The RPO, the read option stuff, the running quarterback. It's all stuff that's going to fit right into what he does and what he should have been doing for the last couple of years with us. We just didn't have the scheme, I don't think, to utilize him the way we should have. And now we do. So I think that's going to be a huge factor for us is having him back. As far as loss, that's a tough one. I think anytime you lose a Tanner Kozel, man, that's a big one. That's having him for one more year, his ability to catch, blocking, I mean, just everything he does from a tight end standpoint, that's hard to recover from. You're not going to get that kind of 6'7", 240 guy that can do what all he does easily at our level. So that's a huge loss. And then there's a lot of guys that are coming in that as I glance at my list here that are going to have an immediate impact, I think, for us. I think I'm really the most excited probably the Ashley kid out of Kennesaw that came here. He's a big one, just from his ability, his speed, his athleticism, his ability to kick return, stuff like that. Fits in where Malcolm Gilly left off from returner standpoint. I'm really high on the Voorhees kid from, I think it was from Old Dominion or Shirley, I can't remember. Defensive end, 6'3", 253, 6 sacks last year. He's going to be a guy that can either put his hand in the dirt and play defensive end or stand up as an edge. He can, hold the line on, stout run guy, but gets in the backfield and lives in the backfield. I think he had 8.5 tackles for loss on top of those 6 sacks. So, he's going to be a guy that we're going to have a lot of production out of from on the defensive line.
Okay. What about the 2025 signing class? What do we need to know about the signing class? People who are coming in, guys who have committed, and maybe some people. I know we had a fairly big name recently decommit, I guess, essentially, and then now is going to Indiana, the quarterback. But kind of just walk us through the signing class. You would know this better than anybody. Yeah.
So the Bell kid, I mean, I completely understand that getting an IU offer is pretty big time, especially where they are at now. I mean, 10 years ago, that wasn't such a big offer, but
right, yeah,
they've kind of developed a little bit more since then. And just I think in terms of Kyle Kelly, kind of the opposite for him. He doesn't quite fit this scheme, I don't think. So it's probably a great move for him. I guess just going top down from my list of people that I have, Michael Thacker from New Palestine. He's probably one of my favorite. I've seen him play a couple times personally. 6'2", 265 defensive end. He can play all across the front, all 3 spots on the defensive line. Just a complete package as a high school kid. Good size, uses his hands well, gets in the backfield, is disruptive. He's a beast already at his size, and he's just going to get a little bit bigger as he progresses here. But I honestly think he can scratch the 2 deep starting off right away, so which is pretty big in this day and age of the transfer portal and everything. So he's one that I like a lot. I think it's Webster out of Westfield. He's a 6'1", 230. He's a Mike linebacker, just one of those prototypical, old school, run first Mike linebackers. Plays downhill, will hit you. You're gonna feel it. He's got some work to do probably from a coverage standpoint, sinking in the coverage and stuff like that. But man, you got somebody that you want to put in there to stop the run. He's going to be a guy that's going to be able to work through the wash and get to the running back and put the wood on him. So then there's Donovan Lanier, who's defensive back out of Florida. So, I mean, Florida fast. They always say that. He's definitely that guy. He had some high major offers. He actually had an Ole Miss offer at one point in time last summer. He's good size, 6 foot, rangy is what I like to call it. It's, long arms, long legs, moves well, has a lot of speed, good ball skills. So he's a great get. Darion Talbert, who is out of Lexington Douglas, which has been a pipeline for us. It's good to keep that going with the new staff. We've had a handful of kids out of there here recently in the last couple of years. He's another one of those slot guys, smaller, 5'9", 160, but good route runner. He can run the ball. He played quarterback as a Wildcat kind of quarterback, so he's got some skills, a lot of speed, a lot of short area quickness. So he's going to be a guy that works his way as he gets bigger into the lineup. Lucas Zimborski, who's a kid out of Crown Point. He's another one that's a great get. Good size, 6'2", 220. He can play either of the 3 linebacker spots in the defense lineup. He is a 2-time. Not only is he a guy that played wide receiver in high school at that size, which tells you how athletic he is, but he was a 2-time state wrestling champ in Tennessee before he moved here to Indiana. So
we his dad is a friend of the program, and so he's talked to us a couple times, and he said he's going for his 3rd state championship this year in Indiana. So I thought that would have to be a fairly rare feat, that the interstate three-peat across 2 different states. I don't know how many times that's ever been done. So
I'm sure that's probably.
We'll have to hang a banner for that somewhere if he gets it. So Lucas, good luck with that.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Then there's Sam Spicer, who's also from down in Hendersonville, Tennessee, another pipeline we've had from down there in the Nashville area over the last couple of years. Good to keep that going. He's a 6'5", 275, good size. When you look at a offensive line prospect, you always look at athleticism and feet. How does he move his feet well? Is he able to pull? Is he able to work to the second level? A lot of kids aren't the best at pass pro in high school, obviously, but he's got some skill there. But what really jumps off the chart with him is his ability to pull and connect on those blocks. He's got a great frame. He's only 275. Looks skinny, I think. So he's going to add some weight. He can play all 4 or all 5 line positions. So he's a guy that has a lot of upside to him. Jalen Bonds out of Cathedral is a bigger back. I think he's 6 foot 210, something like that. Had some MAC offers, so he's pretty good talent. He's not a blow you out of the water speed guy as some of these guys are, but he's a one cut, like good zone read guy, where he's going to put his foot in the ground, make one cut, and just head north and south, get you the tough yards in between the tackles, catch the ball in the backfield. So he's kind of an all around back, going to be a guy that can stand in there and pick up the blitz when you need it too and stuff like that. So let's see, Toby Adewoyan. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right.
It's always interesting trying to figure out if you're pronouncing names correctly until they get to school.
Until you get the pronunciation guide in the yearbook. Mm-hmm. He's a longer athletic safety, 6'1", 185. One of the Kennesaw kids that came up with Coach Smith, decommitted from there. He's one that I really love. Let's see, he's got the skills to play either DB or safety. I think he slides in for like the boundary safety, the wide side safety, just because of his speed and his ability to ball skills mainly. More of a cover guy than a come down and hit you guy. So he's going to be one that I kind of, I feel like he has a chance to play some, given our issues at defensive back the last couple of years. He's got a chance to really step in and help. And then Cameron Chamble, he would be the other safety, if you think of it that way, kind of a strong safety. He's watching his film, he likes to hit people, which is good. I love that out of safety. He's not huge. He's only 6 foot 175, but he's not afraid to put a wide receiver on his butt or a running back on his butt. So he's one that, maybe doesn't have the ball skills that Toby does, but he definitely will play the run, will hit you, will cover, physical kid. So he's another one that could possibly slide in there, but he'll only develop and get better as he gets bigger. Elisha Durham from up in Michigan, another great get. I mean, if you think about everybody in the MAC offers you, you're probably a very good talent. So, and that's always been kind of the case as I've gone through this over the years. If you see, you get the diamonds in the rough sometimes, but you get those kids that have, Miami, Western, Eastern, all the Toledo, all the bigger programs in the MAC offer you, then he's going to be a kid that's going to, bring something to the table right away.
Right.
He's 6'2", 170, high end speed. He'll take top off the defense. Burgeoning as a route runner, he'll get better at that. He'll get bigger and stronger, but right now he can walk in and take that go route and beat a defensive back in one-on-one pretty easily. So he's going to be a guy that is one to watch over the next few years. After that, Micah Wing, who's our JUCO transfer out of Dodge City. He's an edge rusher, kind of like Brandon Berger was last year. And Justin Thomas should have been had he not gotten injured last year. 6'4", 225, another rangy, long, athletic guy. Great speed, great get off. I love the way he gets off the ball. Uses his hands well. Bats down the tackle's hands when he tries to get around him. Bends well. Kind of ducks under the tackle's hands. Gets in the back, just lives in the backfield. He's so disruptive, and not just against getting to the quarterback, but also against runs. So he's one that will definitely be playing right away in Coach Knoll's defense. And then switching gears to the transfers Yeah, Adam Dolan, who's the Butler kid that came over.
Big guy.
6'8", 300. That's massive. So, and he's a 3-time all-conference guy for them. So he's a known commodity. He's coming. Staff knows him.
Yeah.
They know exactly what they're getting out of him.
Yeah, we had talked about some of these guys with Chris Radican a week or so back, and we had noticed this is early on when guys were transferring in. Was Adam Dolan, couple-time all-conference player, and we had a couple guys, like 3 guys at the time. They're all multiple-time all-conference players, so they were really looking for people who had been producing at a certain level, not necessarily we're going to go get guys from Indiana or Purdue or stuff. And they've got some guys like that, but they were really focusing right from the beginning on that production. And Adam Dolan was one of those guys that we had noticed that from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think historically, as the portal has developed, I think you can kind of see historically that taking those lower level guys and bringing them up, Riley Tolsma last year is an example where if you bring them up from a lower level, but they had been super productive lower, that Walter Fletcher is a good one. That they can come up and they're hungry. They want to prove themselves at this level as opposed to a guy that was up here and is moving down and, may have a different situation, different line of thinking. So, I always love to see the lower level FCS and even D2 kids come up and get their chance because they usually produce pretty well for us.
Yeah.
And then Quay Ashley, is going to be a key at running back, 400 yards rushing, 255 yards out of the backfield, catching the ball. He can do everything. He's going to be a pretty big key. Speed, fast. I mean, I'm pretty excited about him. And actually the 3, don't want to call them little guys, but they're smaller. Him, Eric Weatherly, who's out of Bucknell, another guy, slot receiver, almost 900 yards receiving last year. He's another guy like we just talked about with Dolan that, he's got talent. We know he can do it. He's kind of a known commodity. So it's great to see it. Exciting to see what he can do for us. And then Elijah Jackson, who didn't really get a chance out of Purdue. He's a walk-on for them, but state champion in the 100-meter dash.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, legit 4.38 kid. You don't get that at our level very often. So sure, he hasn't played a whole lot of football, but you get that kid in space.
Yeah,
good things are going to happen.
Yeah, people can learn how to play football. You can't really learn how to be that fast.
Yeah,
you just are. Yeah. You just are. You aren't. So that's if you can mold that into the football player you wanted to be, then that's definitely an awesome get for us.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, he's 5'9", 190, so he's already got size on him. So you don't have to bulk him up, make him bigger or anything. He's ready to go. So then the Voorhees kid that we talked about earlier. Roman Pearson, who's a bigger defensive back. He is out of Bucknell as well. Big guy, defensive back or cornerback, kind of a cover corner. I think he's got 4 interceptions over the last 2 years, so he's got good ball skills. Haven't seen a whole lot of film on him, but I think he's a guy that's going to push for playing time, obviously, right away. Ashton Whitner is another one of those real physical, a little bit smaller safety, 5'11", 198, 200 pounds, somewhere in there. I think he probably the sniper position that's been talked about a lot out of Coach Nils' system. George Udo played that last year for us. I think that's where he's going to slide in at, kind of because, you watch his film. He is definitely downhill, loves hitting people in the run, can cover. He'll be able to cover a slot or a tight end. But his main thing will be getting to the quarterback, blitzing out of that spot and playing the run. So be exciting to see. And then finally is Mr. Taylor.
I assume that's the one everyone wants to know about.
Yeah, that's the big one. And 4-star recruit. They don't come around here very often. So 6'5", 235, athletic, runs well, developing as a passer. I haven't seen a lot of him. He did have some play at Vanderbilt a couple years ago when he was there. So he was able to do some things against SEC talent, which, obviously he'll be able to do stuff against the MAC. Didn't really get a chance, obviously, in Colorado because of Schefter, but, who was going to beat that guy out. So he'll be one that will definitely push Kyle from day one.
Right.
Probably will have his own package, maybe goal line, stuff like that because of his size and his ability to get downhill. I mean, basically a tight end, back there at this point. So size-wise. And then, as he develops better as a quarterback, passing the ball, then, after that, sky's the limit with him. So
do you have any idea how that happened, how he ended up at Ball State?
No clue. I think we got on him quick because he announced, and then boom, he's been one that was real quiet on social media, like, didn't announce an offer. All of a sudden he was here, and then he was kind of cryptic about it. And then it was like, okay, so, and then, he's one that I think, and this drop down a level for him is going to be great for him. So, because he'll actually get to play and show what he can do.
Andy, are we to assume Caden Simmons is officially gone, or is there a chance he still comes back?
I'm going to assume he's gone. I think from what I've heard, he's got some pretty solid offers out west, closer to home. So I don't see him coming back. I'd be surprised if he did. Let's put it that way.
Who are some of the people that are still maybe floating around in the portal that we could see return? Maybe talk about Malcolm Gilly. I know he's more of a recent enter into the portal, but Malcolm Gilly or D.D. Snyder maybe.
Yep, those are my two that I would think. Malcolm obviously getting that year back with the new ruling for junior college kids, which is huge for him. I'd love to have that guy back. Another guy that is big and athletic and can play kick return or an excellent wide receiver. So it would be great to have him back. I don't know what his status is. I know he put his name in the portal. I don't know if that's just to kind of sniff around, see what's going on, or if his plans are to really come back or what. And then DD, he's been kind of quiet too. I don't know if he's gotten any offers or what's going on with that. I'd love to have him back. He showed glimpses, in his first full year starting here that, he's going to be pretty rock solid player in the secondary. And, he already knows the system, been in it for a year. It would be great to have him back. So he would be one, especially on that defensive side, to get back.
I'm assuming we want them back. We've told them we want them back, and it's just maybe a numbers thing, money-wise, or
could be a numbers thing. Could be I just want to try to maybe you want to go closer to home or whatever. DD I think is from Illinois, so it's probably not that with him, but it very well could be a financial numbers thing with the two of them. So
they both showed some flashes last year. It'd be nice to have them return with Kyle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And Gilly, he was the player of the year special teams wise, so we know he's a great kick returner. And he definitely, when he got the chance to get the ball thrown his way, he did some great things. So
we'd have teams kicking it out of bounds if we put Quay Ashley and Malcolm Gilly both back there on kick return.
Yeah, we'll just take it to the 45.
Sorry, I knew there was a cough coming at some point.
Yeah,
a cough was coming at some point. Colin, do you have anything else on the transfer portal, all that stuff? Go ahead.
I do. So it sounds like you've been pretty positive with what we've brought in from the portal, to the point that you even, I think, used the term turnaround. So like you didn't think we'd turn around so fast. Do you think there's going to be an immediate increase in wins? Is that going to correspond to wins this next season?
I think so. I think if you look at where we were last year and the fact that, how many close losses, last possession losses did we have last year? What was just, whether it was a schematic thing or whether it was a time, coaching decision thing or whatever, not getting new or anything like that. But, having an extra little bit of talent in spots, having a different scheme, a more experienced head coach. I don't know. I think those things will equate into, 3 or 4 of those possibly close losses becoming close wins. So I don't see any reason why we can't go bowling year one. So just because we were that close, like just a handful of possessions and we could have been a 6-7 win team. So,
story of our lives the last couple of years.
Yeah. I feel like that's the story of our lives, for the 45 years that I've been watching Ball State sports. So yeah. So,
well, this has been great. I have a couple other questions for you. Sure. If Colin, you don't have anything else?
I'm good. Yep.
You're good. I have a couple other things. They're not as focused specifically on Ball State football. I know you cover a little bit. You've covered basketball as well.
Yeah.
Men's basketball.
Yes, sir.
What will it finally take to get back to the NCAA tournament? It's not necessarily a recruiting question. It's just where this. If you say you've been following for 45 years,
Yeah.
this was a premier mid-major program for a while, and we've now basically had a quarter of a century where we haven't been able to make the tournament. How do we fix it?
Oh, well, being the old head here, I lived through the 90s and 2000. Well, actually, the late 80s to early 2000s when the MAC. If you wanted to win the MAC or win the MAC tournament, it came through Muncie. Period. Like we were the pinnacle. I think from a standpoint of it's been, I think probably just a combination of not great hires, holding on to coaches for a little too long, and some recruiting stuff there. We had obviously don't even want to say Ronnie Thompson, but that kind of set us back, a handful of years when that happened. And just I think Lewis has got us going in the right direction talent wise. It's just getting that all together on the floor. You see glimpses of it when you watch them play. Obviously what they did to Evansville the other day, that is the best basketball I've seen in quite some time out there. So especially defensively. I'm an Indiana kid, so basketball is kind of first and foremost to me. But yeah, I'd love to. Oh man, I don't exactly know what the magic solve is for that, but we need to get back because we need to get back to where we were.
I've said on the show before, I think had Michael Lewis been hired like 2 years earlier, before NIL really kind of took off, I think this would have already happened. Yeah. I think if he could have stacked classes on top of each other without losing everybody, like happens now at a Ball State or any school like Ball State, because it's impossible to keep people. Right. He just has a knack for getting good guys in, but they can't keep them. And so I guess if they figure that out, maybe. But I don't know. I'm with you. I need him to be back.
You think about what he could have done with Persons and Teague and Moses and those guys, and then added to that at that time. Yeah, you kind of wish he would have been here a little sooner, but we got what we got. It's okay.
All right, I got my last main question. Sure. In all your time covering recruiting for Ball State, I guess it could be any sport. Who's Ball State's biggest get that they've ever got? What's the biggest recruit that they got that you're like, how did we get this guy or girl? I guess.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it could. Yeah. I think it still goes back to, I think Nate Davis, I think is still the big get. I mean, at least from my time covering it, because he was a guy that had high major offers, but once you found out that they were kind of hinting at, oh yeah, you can come in and try to play like West Virginia, for instance, which was close to where he's from, because he's from Eastern Ohio. They were like, hey, you can come in, but we want to maybe switch you to fullback or tight end. So once that happened, it made it easier for us. But I think that was mainly because we had Coach Parrish at that time. It was just amazing. He'd been at Michigan and just a great offensive coordinator, and he kind of connected with Nate. So that was probably our biggest get in terms of just pure talent. In my lifetime, it'd be Bonzi, obviously, because Bonzi's a year older than me. So kind of known him forever. He's a guy that had like Big Ten interest, and could have possibly, if he waited, maybe have gone. But that was a big time talent too. Right. I mean, he walked in day one, like maybe the best player to ever play here. So
yeah.
So that was a world then.
That was my 1-1 pick in the Ball State of the Union draft, which I won.
Yeah, good pick. Good pick. Yeah.
So you do this all for the love of the game now, correct? You're recruiting. So if people want to support you, I know you have a couple other business ventures out there. If you want to plug them here and kind of tell people some other stuff that you do that maybe they could use you for in the future.
Oh yeah. Well, Rudolph Mortgage. That's where I'm sitting at right now doing all this. I'm a mortgage lender there in Muncie. So, if you want to buy a house, give me a call. That's kind of my main thing. That's where I make my money. The football stuff, just give me a follow. Just make me feel good. Maybe feel like the program means something to people. Been a fan my whole life, which is, when you say you're a Ball State fan, people go, oh, well, who else do you like? No, I like Ball State. There's got to be somebody that does it. So, I don't care for Notre Dame or IU or anything like that. I'm a Ball State fan. So, the more people that get interested in our program, the more I can push, news and information to make that happen. Just like you guys, what you do. Thank you for doing what you do to help. I think everything we do is just as a benefit. So, yeah, that's all I need. Just give me a like and follow or whatever.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time,
thank
Andy.
You. Thank you.
And everyone, be sure to follow Andy on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it's called these days.
I think he should change his name to his Adam Schefter of BSU.
I'll think about it.
All right,
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Hey, thank you.
All right.